out there in TV land. As you can see, we've returned for this episode, so AI did not take over in the last 30 seconds.
I think they should show us doing the dance to our song beforehand.
Maybe we'll work
a little bit.
We're going to get some choreographers on that one. But thanks for joining us. Another episode, AGI, Anthony and Greg on Intelligence. I'm Anthony Moggio, and with me is Greg Elementary, my dear, Prost. Back to basics.
Yes.
Elementary.
Elementary.
Maybe?
Yeah.
No.
I Don't Give a Damn? Isn't that? No. Oh, that was a different movie.
Isn't that like Scarlet?
Different character. Yeah.
I forget where that. Yeah. Anyways, on that one.
A little Sherlock here.
We thought we'd go back to some overview on some of the basics on AI, because we get asked these same questions and items pretty regularly.
Or people saying, hey, I tried this, it didn't work.
Yes, and it's
like, okay, you don't understand how this actually works.
Exactly. So we thought we'd kick off on that one. So
we'll talk about a few things like that, and then we'll finish with grant proposals and actual real use.
Yes. Throw some cases in there.
Number one is one of the things that people don't realize is the data in the AI program is old. Mm-hmm. Oh, the programs are from January, probably, data?
If you're ChatGPT, it is still, as of today, so we're in June of 2026, it is August of 25.
Oh, I didn't even know it was that.
It is old.
I think Claude's a little bit sooner than that.
Oh, most likely.
I believe so. But again, if you were asking who won the baseball game last night, it's not going to.
No.
It can go out and search for you. You can ask it to, and it can, but it's not going to come up with the best answer. That's not what it's for. And so people start. You need to think about what it is, and I like to think it's not looking something up and giving you an answer. It's generating an answer based on the words it's coming up with. So that's where you need to be a little bit careful with the way you ask questions and asking it for facts and factual information, and that's also it's generative, so it's going to generate an answer based on picking the next word every single time, which will give you a slightly different answer to your question or be worded differently. I don't know if it's going to give you a different answer completely, but it's going to be worded differently every single time you ask. And that frustrates a lot of people because, I want to know the exact answer to this. Tell me. Go Google that for now. I think the systems are getting better at this, and they understand when you ask a question like that, okay, I'm going to act like a Google search and give you, hey, here's the most likely answer, here's some other thoughts. They're getting a little bit better at that, but they're not good at that. So you want to make sure, and then people have built systems that, hey, I want to say the same thing every time, at least at the beginning, and then possibly change this part down here. Well, you can get it to do that, but it's not going to do it on its own. Mm-hmm. You can really clamp it down, but I think that trips up people a lot, that they're not using it in the proper way.
And I see I liken it to tools. Okay, so maybe you do or don't, but you don't necessarily use, the hammer is for hitting things. It's not for necessarily screwing in a screw. You need a screwdriver for that. Yeah. Or cutting a tree down. You would use a chainsaw. But yet what happens is, they're like, oh, we got this really awesome tool that seems to be way smart and gives us nice positive reinforcement. And they're using the, ChatGPT from August 2025 to try to do some recent current event or something. It's using the hammer for a screwdriver or a screwdriver for a hammer or whatnot. It's not the right tool. And at no point is anyone currently looking at a one-size-fits-all. They don't function that way, programmatically anyways.
They might at some point, but yes.
It'll be an AI that's just going to take what you're doing and then apply it to the right tool,
sure.
Is what should we get to at some point. But then, so you have the large language models, which they're all trying to phase out anyways. So those are starting to they're not investing much more into them. The agents is really where they're trying to go, and that's where it can take the tasks and complete tasks for you on its own. And then we have things like RAGs, the retrieval augmented generations. I love those because when you put in, and that's where you have to give it the data that it's answering off of. And so you put the data in, and so you ask it a question, and if it's not in the data, it doesn't have an answer. It says it's not there. I don't have that. Instead, if you're using like a large language model and you ask the same question, if it can't find it, it's going to, for the most part, assume it. If it has enough information that can gauge enough to give you an answer that it thinks is maybe plausible, it's just going to give that, whether or not there's any facts to it or not.
It's going to guess, and it wants to give you an answer.
Yes, absolutely. So they're all built that way, but all the tools are different. And then you have different AIs, like when you talk about things like image generation. That's not a large language model, right? It's a specialized AI tool programmatically to generate in the algorithms images, not text. And so you get, and video is a whole nother version.
Take a step back. One of the leaps in Fable 5 was its ability to generate pictures.
Multimodal,
yes.
The big keyword.
So it didn't need to run a different system. It wrote the math algorithms to make the pictures. So Anthony was mentioning these companies specialize as Midjourney. Actually, ChatGPT has a great program, the image generator, but it's a different AI approach. It's the same kind of thing. It's picking the next pixel is what it's doing until the picture, forms itself. That's interesting. The leaps. This keeps happening, right? Somebody comes up with hey, use it this way. Or agents. We're talking about agents, and you have to go set them up, and you have to, work a different way with them. But Fable 5 just spun up its own agents. You didn't have to do anything.
Figured itself out.
Correct.
Versus, I'm going to say prompting you, but basically asking you back, like, what do you mean by this? Is this supposed to happen, or is this supposed to happen? So if you give it a complex task, it would pop back with questions.
Yes.
And on Fable 5, it would just essentially ask itself that question, like, how do I do that? Which way is better? Yeah, you know what? This is the way that's better. And then it was
I'll spin up an agent, go figure that out, tell me which one's better, I'm going to go work on something else. Yes. And then that agent comes back with an answer, and then it starts going back and forth. Kind of creepy.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh, yeah. And then you have the ones that are built in like productivity things. So you got chatbot agents for Q&As. You have things that they embed in like Office 365. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint. That isn't like the entire ChatGPT large language model embedded in your Excel worksheet. It's a very specialized Excel-based section and tools. Small language model. There's probably a completely different type of AI name for that one that's just specialized in Excel. So when you're asking it a question about a formula, like it doesn't need to know about current weather or sports highlights, or that's not its function. I need formula help. So it's all about formulas. That's like the focus.
Yes.
And there's
you don't even need that anymore.
Well, I don't know.
As I keep telling everybody,
I haven't used an Excel sheet in a while.
We don't use Excel anymore. We still have to because you got some old stuff in there, but no reason to go make me a graph. I don't need to drop it into Excel. I don't need to write a formula. But again, it's all done the same way.
And they're all starting to work better, but even like the video modules, like if you want to do cloning in that, like, I use Synthesia, that's the one that I use, but I mean, there's so many different video models out there. You're not going to go ask ChatGPT to take, not anymore since they dumped Sora, which was their video making, proprietary AI software. So you can't do it. I can't be like, ChatGPT, here's an image of me, make me a video dancing around in something. It's like it doesn't do that. That's not its function anymore. Yeah. And it needs these other tools that are built for video or built for editing or built for
And they dropped Sora not because it wasn't working and it wasn't super cool, but they wanted to take the computing speed and speed up the rest of their systems, so they can only do so much. Their image generation is just crazy great, though.
It is really good now.
They did keep that. Hey, one other thing on Midjourney. Again, Midjourney is a company that its base is image generation.
Oh, yeah.
And
very
they
good at it. Very,
are
very
working
good.
on a body scan image generation program that comes in and takes pictures of the internal body, and that they can do it pretty cheaply. And one of the issues in imaging your body is you're going to find all kinds of things. And the vast majority of them are benign. It's one of the reasons that they recommend, and this is very controversial, but it's not uncommon to be recommended to not get a colonoscopy, because there are so many false positives that people have surgery and die from surgery or have lifelong issues because of the surgery and everything, when they really wasn't a polyp that was going to grow, and it's been there for 10 years, say. But these image generation programs that are cheaper and faster, then you can take an image every week and see if masses are growing or there's a change, and then concentrating on those. Quite a big deal. I don't know everything about it, but it sounds like it wasn't pie in the sky, and it actually worked. So here's a company that starts with image generation, sees everybody else sort of catching up to them, and goes off in a different avenue and using it for a different purpose. So innovations, these things have to be going on behind the scenes that we just don't know about. All right, kind of beat that one up. How about context? Kind of the biggest one of all, really. You're trying to give the AI context of what type, why are you asking the question? Who are you? What are you trying to get out of this? Put it in the right environment. Right? Put it in the right environment. Know how to give it. You can give text in the prompt itself. So prompting used to be a big deal right at the beginning of AI, the way you prompted it. And now you can ask AI, hey, here's what I'm trying to get out of you. Give me a prompt. And it gives you some pretty good prompt. But, you want to put, we talked about markdown files. So this is a file that explains exactly this context that you can grab. Let's say you have a certain task that you do on a consistent basis. You can make a markdown file. And the reason it's called a markdown file is, or they use markdown files, AI reads markdown files easier than a Word document or anything else. So just for efficiency purposes, it's a .md file. And you can put in background information, the style that you want to use, examples, key facts. Here's how I want you to approach this. I want you to act like me, or I want you to act like this accountant type person, or whatever it might be. Giving it this context is really becoming one of the more important things that you can do. So it's not wasting time going out trying to figure out, okay, I think he's asking this question in this way, and therefore I'm going to go down this path. And so we're talking in a big picture sense, but maybe one of these other podcasts will go into, hey, here's exactly what we're talking about.
And a quick example of that is, okay, so think, so Greg, let's say you're asking a question, okay? And so here's the differences, trying to figure it out. Okay, so pretend you're the AI in this one, okay? I just put dinner ? That's all I give you.
Yeah.
And you're going to go, what does this mean? I don't understand. Are you trying to take me to dinner? Do you want dinner? Do I give you the Uber Eats app? Do I order you a pizza? Are you hungry? Do you need to know if I'm free to, what is it? And it's going to try to figure out what it is. Now, then I could say, okay, what's for dinner? ? Little more specific. Okay, are you asking me what's for dinner?
I like this. This is good.
Am I asking you for dinner, or what is? Okay, so the context side, we're trying to figure it out with the prompts and all that. So now, if you give it a little bit more information, like let's get a little more granular on it. I need an idea for dinner tonight. We had pizza and tacos and spaghetti for the last 4 nights, and I need some new ideas. I need a recipe that's maybe takes 30 minutes. When I have all the ingredients from the store, I can have it done in 30 minutes. I have a stove, an oven, a microwave, and I'm not a culinary genius, so I need something that's pretty much ready to go and just kind of mix and heat. Now the AI goes, now I know what you're trying to get to with dinner ? You're looking for, okay, so I have all the context of that. Okay, so don't suggest spaghetti, don't suggest tacos. You had pizza, so get rid of these groups. You need something 30 minutes, grocery store, package, one meal in a pan, put it together, heat and eat. That's going to give me these recipes. Nope, you got to fillet this. Nope, we're going to skip this. And now it's got a very narrow focus. So the results...
And it might say, hey, take a picture of your refrigerator.
Yes.
Give me even more context of what ingredients you have, because if I suggest something and you don't have that one ingredient that most people have, like ketchup or something, I might want to know that.
Exactly. So, it may say, do you want to go to the store or not? Yeah. Especially if you go, ask me any questions that you have at the end of it.
Ask me questions.
Because now it's going to go, I would like to know if you want to go to the store or not. And I would like to know or give me a picture of your refrigerator so I can see what you have in your freezer.
But that's contextual. So if you want it to say, ask me some questions. If you don't understand the full context of what I'm giving you, ask me a question. And it might take this one thing and say, oh, you said spaghetti and tacos and pizza. Do you not want something with
noodles
or noodles or ground beef? Is ground beef a problem, or is that what you normally? Great. Oh, great. I didn't give you enough context there. Perfect. You asked me the question. That's a perfect.
And that's where you kind of get the, all of our listeners and viewers and that, right? We've all had figure out a boss who just never could give you clear instructions, right? You just never understood, no matter what you did, it was wrong or not quite what they were looking for, but you never could get a quite...
My whole family accuses me of that all the time. Like, you didn't just figure it out. You just said, Like, come on. If I said, then, it would have been different. But I said, that meant that.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's no different on the prompts and interacting with these things. They're going to try their best to figure out what lack of you giving them any sort of context or input is, but they're only going to be able to do it as well as you talk about it. And that's where usually if I know I need something kind of in depth, I need a good prompt for it, I always bounce it through 2 AIs. This is what I'm trying to get. I need a prompt. Take that. This is what I'm trying to get. Here's a draft prompt. How's that? Get a little better. Here's what I'm trying to get. Here's a draft prompt. Anything missing? Okay, now I'm done, and I throw it in. Now I actually do the work for it.
Or you give 2 prompts, and they give the same similar thing, but they mess up one thing, the same type of thing that they got wrong. Like, okay, it's me. It's the prompt that's wrong here. That, let me get this better. The other part of this that was great, the way you described it. You were just talking about it. Hey, we've had dinner here, let me... it can take volumes of information, right? You don't need to just type it. I had spaghetti. Let me name the 3 things, spaghetti, That takes a long time. But you go, look, man, I'm just trying to make a dinner here tonight. We had this already. I got a finicky kid here, in my refrigerator is this or whatever, and you just talk to it, give it just this big, long, and who cares? All the little ums and ifs and doesn't matter.
Hit the microphone. Just say exactly what. Just talk.
Yes.
It does. It's
Here's
fine.
what I'm trying to do.
It is fine.
Exactly.
It can understand.
And it's much better to do it that way. Anyway, you can get a lot more context into it as you.
Because it's as fast as you can talk, right?
Exactly.
So you're not typing as fast as you think or talk, but you can think and you could just bleh all of the words out. Okay, well, this and this, and we're allergic to blueberries, and this person doesn't like vegetables or green things, or color is bad or whatever. You can just give it all, and it will take all of that and give you the focused answer.
I don't think people use the vocal part.
It's so hard. Even on the computer, when I think about it, I've been trying to switch always to microphone because it's just more natural with the large language, all of the apps and everything. But I still find myself typing, and I'm like, I'm so used to keyboards, right? Yeah. We've been ingrained with keyboards and everything else, and it's just a pain to break that habit.
And if you don't type very fast in particular, then you're thinking of something, you got other thoughts, and by the time you finish typing, you're like, okay, wait, what were those other things?
Yeah.
It's just not very efficient. So, all right, we got to come off that. So we'll try in the next podcast, each episode, we'll talk about a few of these things, just trying to help you along. But we also want to give some real world examples. And Anthony, you got one on grant writing here.
I do. I'll talk about some grant stories and things. So this came up now at two different conferences, and at the city, and it comes up all the time. So anyone that's ever had to deal with grant writing or reporting, right? Grant writing isn't in and of itself overly complicated. It's basically people with money want to determine how that money gets spent on things. Okay, so they're the people that are going to give you grants. That you need to match. If your mission matches my mission, I give you money to do the mission, and it could be whatever it is. Could be philanthropic stuff. We need more. I want all my money is going for parks and rec. I want if you're going to do a new park or a trail, or the state of Michigan has the DNR trust fund that was established, so that's for in perpetuity locks down land and projects for park and recreation permanently. And so there's all these different sources of funds, okay? And now you have to write the grants for all of them. Now, it used to be people who were really good with grant English and majors and that, and they want to hear the story in that too, right? So a lot of times you would need to get somebody really good in like journalism or that to be able to write this stuff, but the tools can write it.
And the bigger communities have a grant writer on staff.
Or more.
And then smaller communities have generally hire.
Usually you don't.
Yeah, they hire somebody. Okay, there's companies that do this. And what's the cost on something like that?
It's based on the size of the grant, because almost always the size of the grant is related to the amount of the money. So if you're talking about like maybe it's a $5,000 grant, that could be a paragraph. That's all you get. You get 500 words or less. That's your application. They don't let you have more.
Okay.
But you get into the complicated ones, like let's say the federal ones, for instance. Those are always millions or more. Those could be 30, 40 pages of items.
Okay.
When we did I've done quite a few with the state. Even state programs, you're talking 30 pages, and they want data and analytics and financials and what is it going for and who owns what. And I mean, there's a lot that goes into them. So the grant writers typically know that, well, if you're asking for millions, we know that that's going to be 100 hours. So they charge you based on that.
Yeah.
And then we know if it's a tiny grant, it's going to be, 10 hours or 5 hours.
So they don't charge you a percentage of the grant.
I have not come across that in any of them.
That makes sense.
They have a flat fee.
Sure.
And so that I've seen the highest I saw was $25,000. They're typically, the high end is usually, I would say, in my experience, 99% of the time, 95% of the time, it's $15,000 would be the high end. And I rarely see less than $2,500. Because really, if it's like a paragraph, like you're going to pay them to write a paragraph. Yeah. I mean, usually they even tell you can write it. We'll look it over for you is usually what they say, and they don't charge.
Yeah.
You go write it, give it to me, I'll review it, and because it's going to take them 3 minutes to read the paragraph, and then they'll shoot you back like, hey, maybe look at this and this and this and talk about this a little more, and then that's the end of it. But so there goes with it. So we don't, any grant writing that's done, a lot of times you can get reimbursed an amount of the grant writing fees. They typically cap it. So even if you paid $7,500 for the grant writer, they may cap it at $5,000. So you're always out money somehow.
Sure.
If you don't get the grant, you're out of it anyways, because there's no reimbursement.
Do you have a grant writer in Rochester?
We have 4. Yeah, we have different companies because they're all specialties.
I meant on staff.
No
staff. Okay.
No.
So how big of a community would have that on staff?
Ooh, you'd have to get probably. I'd be surprised if any community that had 50,000 or more residents didn't have someone on staff.
And then,
it may not be their job is literally grant writer, but it's someone that's what they do. Any of the philanthropic, if you're a nonprofit, that's pretty much how much money can you get the nonprofit? It's not much different than universities, right? The schools, the directors and the presidents, so I forget whatever they call the names in the higher ed. It's like, how much money can you bring in that is way more than what we're paying you for this entity, for the school. And I'm talking tuition, like philanthropic stuff and all that. Same thing with the nonprofits. If you're a philanthropic organization, you can't fundraise, you're out.
And then Like if you're at a community and there's just a lot of newer people there, like they turn over in an election, say, for example, where everyone's elected. Sure. Who's doing a grant writing there? I mean, who even knows you're supposed to be looking for them? How do you find?
And there becomes the problem because that's gone with the person.
Yeah.
And then even if you get the grants, the other issue is the reporting on the grants.
Yeah.
And the reporting, the continuous, the larger it is, you get federal, you'll have reporting for 2 years after the grant's closed in some cases. And so it's very, very onerous on the community. So as an example that came up, a part of the city that's not my department, they were awarded basically like $1 million in ARPA money through the county. And, they were like, okay, hey, they want this report. Can you help do the report? And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, what report and who and what is happening? So, I said, I go, well, send me.
They can ask for anything, right? The grant issuers.
When on the reporting side, it's always in the agreement. They tell you what you need to report on. Okay. That's always part of the signed agreement because you're both signing off.
Yeah.
And but on the application side, they can ask you for whatever.
Okay.
If they want to see financials, they want to see your audit.
They need something to.
Yeah, in the agreement it says on these dates, on the 4th and 8th month of the year, you will send whatever it is. It's usually quarterly or an annual or weird offsets every October. You have to submit reports. And so I get it, and I'm reading this thing. I'm like, I don't even know what it's talking about. I don't even understand the words that it's asking for. And so I go, all right, send me the agreement. I don't have anything. I don't even know what this is. So give me the agreement. Give me the detail stuff. So I get all that information. I go in co-work, and I say, hey, here's the email that the county sent. Here's the thing they're looking for. Here's the agreement. What do you need? And so it says, all right, I need blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. So I go in.
This is Claude Co-work.
This is Co-work. Yep, so I got it all working.
This is an agentic program they have that allows you to build agents out.
Yeah, exactly. So I go, I need help with this. So I go and grab, it says, hey, I need the export. Just give me the raw export out of your financial software. So I go in BSNA. I just do an export for the whole history of that GL account. And I put it all in, and I say, okay, there it is. Everything you've asked for, that's in the folder. This is in the folder. This other sheet, the emails, the blah, 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 the project progress reports, the engineering stuff. Here's everything. Go. Anything else you need, let me know. And then I said, I go, I have a list of payments. So I have vendors and payments. And so I go, I don't know what they do because it was trying to match categories of types of expenditures.
Yeah.
So I said, go figure out what business these vendors are, right? We're all in Rochester, Michigan. Here's, the addresses. Go figure out what they do. Yeah. And what their primary business is, because that's probably what they're doing for us, and then put it in those categories and let me take it for a review. So submit that. It starts going to work, and it grabs everything. It finds things. It goes, hey, you didn't go back far enough. You gave me the report from June. It allows you from September 8th, this date, 2022, whatever it was. Do you have anything before that? Because I can go and add that into it. I'm like, well, no, we didn't do anything till then, but thank you. And it says, okay, here's what I found. These are the company names. Here's what I see that they do. Their primary, this is a construction company. This is a contractor. This one only does soil testing. And so therefore the soil testing one goes into this category. In the grant agreement, here's the page and the table they want filled out. So I made that table. Here's every purchase, the summary, everything lined up, total, categorized, all in the report. If these questions are correct, if this is their job, they are doing construction for you, yes. They are doing the soil testing for you, yes. And so I send that back and I go, here's the questions. If all of this is correct, and not that it's right all the time, but in this case it was. Yeah. There was nothing to change in the report. We're like, well, here's your report. Report's done.
Yeah.
That entire process, and that's why finance always gets left out most of the time, and that's why it's really hard changing people and all that. You're trying to recreate stuff that you weren't even around for.
Yeah, sure.
Like I don't even know. I'm not even in these meetings.
Yeah.
I don't even know like what you're even doing.
Or even knowing that you have to do the report.
Yeah, or even knowing that a report came up. Like it came out of nowhere 3 years into the project, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure, I can help you. I'll figure this out. And being able to do from the start of that inquiry to the end of that final report being done and approved was within a half hour. We were just approaching a half hour because, they were asking, so they're like, I need the help with this. And I'm like, well, stay with me here. We're putting this together here. Look at this, let it run. I'll call you right back. Hey, I just sent it to you, go look at this. Half hour, we're done. On a report that a project manager would normally be assigned that task, right? Because they're watching expenses by line items, the engineerings, they're overseeing everything to make sure it's all running smoothly. And we didn't have any of that. We had to go back, recreate all of this stuff off of just a bunch of information. And it was good by, everybody looked at it and said, here you go, and haven't heard anything since. I mean, it's just cost reporting. I mean, it's not, the grants aren't trying to trip you up on anything, but they want to monitor it, right? They have dates.
Make sure you're doing what you
this one happened to be ARPA funds, so there's cutoff dates. Like we need to see the money gone in certain intervals, or we're going to check in on you. Like, why aren't you spending it? Because you're going to have to give it back.
Yeah.
So there's reasons you do reporting.
And they should be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And so that's just an example where we actually got to build that all out.
What about you're in a community, you're brand new, and you're listening to this podcast. You want to go in and say, hey, I'm brand new, I'm a treasurer here, I'm looking for potential, here's my community, what types of grants might I be eligible for that we haven't applied for in the past?
And if you're
give
new,
me a percentage.
Others might be new.
Yeah.
The thing that's good is hopefully if you have your meetings recorded, I would take 5 years of meetings and I would put them all in, let's say, Notebook LM. And I would.
These are like YouTube recordings.
Yeah, like your recordings. You can take the transcripts
Yep.
from all the meetings.
Yep.
There's other softwares, but it's easy. Notebook does YouTube natively because they own them both.
Yep.
And so the Google. And so I'd put it in and say, what are all the grants that were awarded and for how much and when over all these transcripts? And to set that up takes maybe 5 minutes, and you can have how many years you want, 5 years, 10 years. You don't need that long. It'll be way past, but let's say 5 years. And it's going to give you, here's the meeting, here's the grant, here's the amount, here's the meeting grant amount, and you're going to have a list of all the ones that were already awarded. So now you can go figure out, are these done? Did we do closeout reports? And then you can also see, what have we been applying for? Because almost every grant needs a resolution of support. So not only am I going to find the ones that we've already been awarded and accepted, but then to your point, going into which ones we're trying to get or have applied for, I'm going to have that information too, that we aren't getting or did get or any of that sort of stuff. So
Notebook LM,
that's what I would do.
Owned by Google. What's great about Notebook LM is it's like siloed. So it will take tons of information, and it's just working from that information. So as Anthony was saying on the transcripts, that's a lot of info, and especially if you go 5 years of transcripts, that's a lot of info.
It could be 2-3 meetings a month. For, I mean, who's going to watch 500 hours?
You don't want it hallucinating. You want it. So that's why he's dropping into Notebook LM.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I would do on that one.
No, this is the kind of thing that we're trying to get to people that you don't know what's going on, ask.
And that's where the training is important, right? Because half the time I see them in that case, they go into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, what are all the grants I got for the city?" And it's like, "What are you doing?" For one, it only has it through August of 2025, but right now. But two, it's like, why would you ask the AI? Like, that's not the right tool for that. What are you trying? Don't do not do that.
Yes.
So
yes.
Education and training is key.
Yes, sir.
Lots of training and education. And on that bombshell, foreshadow.
Yes.
On that bombshell, thanks for joining us again on another episode of AGI, Anthony Greg on Intelligence. Thanks for joining. We'll catch you on the next one.